Hey everybody, this is John from TSG Multimedia, and today I'm reviewing a universal camera lens kit with LED ring light from CamKix. This kit is available on Amazon for $25.99, and it comes with a carrying pouch for everything, a lens cloth. All their items seem to come with the lens cloth like that. Comes with the power cable to charge your ring light. Just fits into a USB port on your computer or your phone charger. It has two different clip-on dealies. This is in case your phone happens to be the kind that has a lens that's further away from the edge. You can use the larger clip. It has instructions, and of course then your lenses. And the lenses also come with lens caps, which is very helpful in keeping them protected. And the way it works is pretty simple. You charge the light ring, and then you can turn it on to get extra light. And as with the other clip-on universal lens kits from CamKix that I've reviewed recently, these have threaded openings, and then the lenses themselves have small threads that screw into that. So the lenses that are included with this kit are a fisheye lens, which we'll go outside and take some pictures with this, and I may take some in the studio here as well. And then there's a wide-angle lens, which is two parts. It's actually a macro lens on the bottom, and when you combine it with this top piece, that makes it wide-angle. And I'll take some pictures with that too to show you what the effects are. And then the light ring has a button on the top right here. And then opposite that is your charging port. So it is rechargeable, which is pretty cool. And it has three light settings. It goes from the dimmest light setting, which is actually kind of hard to see on the camera here, and then it goes up to the brightest light setting. So it's three steps, sort of a low, medium, and high. Something I would like to say right up front here is that if you're looking for something to illuminate your objects close up, which is what light rings are commonly used for in photography, forget about it, because the macro lens doesn't work with the light ring. Something I find a little bit confusing, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later. To make this work, you fit the lens, and in this case it's the fisheye lens, right in here. And it fits pretty flush on the top there. And then you screw it on. You screw the whole thing on like this. And the tension from screwing it on actually holds all of this together onto the clamp. Then I have an iPhone 6 here in my protective case that I've talked about before on other reviews. And you just kind of clamp it over. And you have to look in there to make sure that the clamp is clamped over the lens for the camera in the phone. So as usual, I'm outside here and I'm going to show you some shots with the fisheye lens and without it. And here's one more of a tree with and without. So, it's pretty standard fare. This is what fisheye lenses do. I've brought the camera inside into my studio here, and I've turned off some of my studio lighting. This is an N-scale boxcar that I have on the table here, and this is a picture using the fisheye lens with no light ring. Now it's on the lowest setting. Now it's on one step brighter. And now it's on the brightest setting. And what I did was I set the camera's iris to be constant. That way you can see if there's any difference on this. So now because of the design of the light ring, it doesn't have any threads on it. So I can't put the light ring on one of these clamps by itself. That might be useful because you could use it just to illuminate stuff that you're taking close up like this. But it can't be attached to these without the use of a lens. And the only lenses that it works with are the wide angle lens, which we're going to look at next, and the fisheye lens that we just finished looking at. So anyway, let's just continue. I'll put the wide angle lens on next and see what we can do with it. Just like with the other one, clamp it on the phone, being very careful to make sure that your lens is centered over the phone lens. We'll take this outside and do a couple shots with this now. So again, it's the same thing. I'm going to show you a picture of the tree with and without, and then a picture of the other tree with and without the wide angle lens. Okay, so I've brought the camera back inside to the studio and turned off the lights, and I've locked the iris on the camera, and I'm going to do the same thing. Take a shot with no light, and then I'm going to turn the light on the lowest setting. Then we're going to go for the medium setting and the highest setting. Yeah, it's illuminating the car, but frankly, if I turn my studio lights on and just take a picture of the car without any of this other stuff going on, it's fine, really. And so I'm kind of confused about using a light ring for wide angle and fisheye shots. It doesn't make any sense to me. Finally, I'm going to separate the wide angle piece from the macro and put this macro lens all by itself on here, and we're going to take a couple shots of this boxcar real quick, show how well the macro lens works. Okay, so I'm just going to try to get in here on one of the trucks and get a couple shots, maybe on this side, a shot of the other truck. And what you're seeing here is exactly how I would use this kind of thing. Maybe get some detail on the door, right? This kind of thing I would do for one of our train reviews, product reviews. And I got to tell you, when I'm taking this shot, I'm going to set this up as a video real quick so you can see this. So when I'm trying to get the shot, as I get closer to the subject, there's a shadow. And the reason there's a shadow is because you can't get light in here. Now I guess you can do it kind of at an angle like this. Oh, you can really see voids in the paint there. We'd be taking a spike off for that. But my point is, when you get close to it, like where you need to be, like if I wanted to get an overhead shot of this, it's virtually impossible because the camera gets in the way of the light source. The phone does. You see what I'm saying? If I try to do it this way, which is I'm usually sitting on that side of the camera, and you can see what I'm talking about. It just gets shadowed. That's what light rings usually are used for, because you can get your lens in between, or I guess surrounded by all this light. This is what light rings are used for macro photography. But the way it is, I can't use it because the macro lens doesn't work with the light ring. Something else that I found about this kit is that because the lens is so small, and this lens is also so small, you have to be really, really precise about where it lines up. Because if you don't line it up perfectly, and even if you do line it up perfectly, if you use a case like this, you end up with little edges on the edge of your photograph. Can you see this? They're on the side here. And if I move it in a little bit or over, you get edges on the other side. So you'd have to crop this or enlarge it or something. Now, I have tested it without the case. And without the case, it's fine. This is close enough to the lens without the case that it works okay. So this is one of those things where it's universal in the sense that you can use it with a lot of different phones. Like, for example, I have this LG phone here, and you can see on the LG phone that the camera lens is actually a little bit further away from the edge, this way, as opposed to the iPhone, which is like right up to the edge. So it is universal. This will fit over in a way that can go further down than the short one. So it's good for that. But again, using a case prohibits this from resting flush against the actual case of the phone itself. So you can't really use this if you have a protective case like this, unless it's a very thin protective case, in which case it's not very protective. Something that I found a little bit curious is that the light ring uses different colored LEDs in it. You have whitish ones that are sort of surrounding these little orange looking ones in between. And the white ones look to be somewhere in the 5,000 to possibly 6,000 Kelvin range. And the yellow or orange ones look to be around 3,000. And I'm not really sure why they did this. And the reason it's a little bit confusing to me, now I work in video, so it may be different for regular photography, but having variations like this in your light source can be confusing to a camera. Well, I think what they were trying to do is, if you look at the picture on the back of the box, you can see that it's a girl doing a selfie. And if you're going to use the light ring to do a selfie like this, I could see where having these sort of amber lights would give it a little bit of warmth that you won't otherwise get just using the white light. So I can kind of see where that might make a little bit of sense. But frankly, it would be a lot better if they either just had all white or all amber in this. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we do the spike rating. So for my final test, I've taken the camera, the light ring, and the same rail car into a dark room. And I want to compare the camera's flash that's built in, that's a little LED, to the light ring. Here's the light ring on its highest setting using the wide angle lens. And here's a shot of the camera phone just using the built-in LED flash that it comes with. So I'm a little conflicted about this, and I'll try to explain why. First of all, it's good because it's easy to use. I like the fact that the light ring is rechargeable, and all you need is a USB port to recharge it. I think that's pretty cool. I like the fact that it comes with 2 different sizes of clips so that you can use this with a bunch of different phones. I'm a little bit disappointed that you can't use it with your phone if you have a protective case on your phone. That's a real sticking point for me because I don't take my phone out of its protective case really at all. The only time I take it out is when I'm reviewing stuff like this. So the fact that these can't be used with a protective case without getting the corners on the edge of the screen just is kind of a non-starter for me. So I'm going to have to take a spike off for that. The next thing that I'm a little bit perplexed at was the fact that the LEDs in the light ring are different color temperatures. I think I get why they did it. I think they wanted to bring warmth out in selfies, because selfies that are taken just with a white light do tend to look a little bit garish. But again, you really shouldn't be mixing color temperatures in your light sources. So I do have an idea for an improvement in that regard, which would be if you want to have different temperature lights in the ring, why not have 2 switches? One switch would turn on just the orange lights, and the other switch would turn on just the white lights. That way the photographer can choose which lights to use. Just an idea there, CamKix. I don't think I'm going to take a spike off for that because it does have its uses for portraits, but I do think they need to consider making those color temperatures separate so you can turn them all on if you want to, but if you don't want to, you can leave them off. I've kind of expressed my confusion about the inclusion of a fisheye lens with a light ring. Honestly, I really don't know what the thought process is there. First of all, fisheye lenses have very limited use, really just in general. I don't see how it goes together with the idea of having a light ring. So just this kind of selection of lenses that actually work with this thing doesn't make sense to me. I guess a wide angle lens could be okay if you're taking pictures, sort of selfies with a bunch of people in it. So I kind of get that, but having the fisheye lens included that doesn't really have any practical application with a light ring, to me, it doesn't make any sense. And the inclusion of a macro lens that can't even be used with the light ring is just an absolute mystery to me. Because the macro lens is the one that you really would need to have a light ring for. If they had a way to use the macro lens with the light ring, this would easily be a 9 or a 10 spike review, because that's really what the application of light rings is intended for in photography, or in my case in videography as well, to get light on subjects that you're too close to. I mean, I'm really confused by that. So I have to take a spike off for the fact that you can't use it with the macro lens. Now, to their credit, they do advertise that in their product description, but just the idea that you're including a lens that you can't use with the light ring is just bizarre to me. So anyway, I think I've kicked this dead horse enough. I'm going to give this a final rating of 8 out of 10 spikes.
If you or your company make a product that you'd like us to review, please drop us a line at reviews@tsgmultimedia.com.